How one risky catwalk moment and a hidden student romance shaped the future king and queen. It began not with a coronation, nor with a royal proclamation, but with the flicker of stage lights on a makeshift runway in a Scottish hotel ballroom. A young prince, seated quietly among a sea of well-dressed strangers, leaned forward as though something irreversible was unfolding before him, and in many ways, it was. The moment Kate Middleton walked onto that student charity catwalk in a sheer dress that clung to her frame, the path of monarchy shifted. The heir to the throne, who until then had tried to live like any other undergraduate, suddenly saw not a friend, not a classmate, but a woman who would one day stand beside him as queen. For decades, royal romances had followed predictable scripts, orchestrated meetings, whispered approvals, carefully managed headlines. But William and Kate's story broke the pattern. It was ordinary in setting, extraordinary in outcome. And the world, shielded by media deals that kept cameras at bay, never truly saw how quietly and powerfully this romance took root. Tonight, we uncover that hidden story, how the future king and queen first crossed paths, why their romance became the best-kept secret of St. Andrews, and how one dress, stitched together from scraps, would one day sell for nearly $80,000 because of the history it ignited. At St. Andrews in September 2001, Prince William arrived not only as a future king, but as an 18-year-old burdened with expectation. After a gap year traveling across the globe, he longed for normality, for a chance to blend in. Kate Middleton, equally fresh from her gap year, arrived at the university that same autumn. The two were placed in St. Salvator's halls, known affectionately as Sally's. By chance, by fate, or perhaps by design of history itself, their rooms were in the same block. At first, they were just names in the student directory. William, tall, shy but gregarious once relaxed, quickly attracted whispers across the halls. Kate, hard-working, athletic, the girl who had turned down Edinburgh to attend St. Andrews, quietly earned admiration too. Among her peers, she was called the prettiest girl at Sally's, but when she first encountered the prince, she later admitted, she turned red and scuttled away, embarrassed by the formality of the moment. It was rugby, of all things, that broke the ice. Kate could talk about scrums and tries as easily as any of the well-to-do public schoolboys William gathered with at meals. She wasn't intimidated. She wasn't starstruck. She spoke to him as if he were simply another student, and that difference drew him in. From that small detail, a friendship began, and soon the outlines of something more. The charity fashion show of April 2002 at the Fairmont St. Andrews Hotel was a turning point. For weeks, it was just another student event, the kind of fundraiser stitched together with enthusiasm and little money. Charlotte Todd, a textile student, had repurposed a skirt into a daring see-through dress. It was never meant to be iconic. It was never meant to be history. And yet, as Kate stepped onto the catwalk in black underwear beneath the mesh fabric, gasps filled the room. Prince William had covertly paid $200 for a front-row seat through a friend. He didn't want anyone to know he was attending. But as Kate strode confidently past, his reaction betrayed everything. He turned to his classmate Fergus Boyd and whispered, "Wow, Kate's hot." Those who were there described the moment as electric, a split second where William no longer saw Kate as the friendly girl from his lunch table or his neighbor in the halls. He saw her as something else entirely. And though public legend places the birth of their romance at that catwalk, royal biographers suggest the truth is more complicated. Sean Smith, in his 2025 book Sophie Saving the Royal Family, argued that William and Kate had already begun dating discreetly by then. They had grown close during the Christmas holidays months earlier. To the outside world, it looked like the fashion show had sparked it all. But in reality, it was the moment when private affection became undeniable attraction, a story that could no longer be hidden in plain sight. Privacy was everything. William had made an agreement with the press at the beginning of his studies. One photo call, one interview, and in return, silence. The media honored it, allowing him to walk the streets of St. Andrews unchased, to sit in the pub with friends, to study without cameras trailing his every move. That silence became the shelter for his romance. Kate and William could attend lectures, eat together, walk through the cobbled streets, and to most of the world, nothing seemed unusual. To their close circle, though, the bond was obvious. Michael Chung, a rugby teammate, recalled years later that the couple never displayed affection in public. They didn't need to. Kate's loyalty was visible in her discretion, William's comfort clear in her presence. And yet, small signs slipped through. At family Christmas in 2003, Kate's mother Carol confided to her brother, Gary Goldsmith, about the relationship. Gary couldn't resist scribbling a note in a meeting. "I think I'm going to be the uncle of the future Queen of England." For the first time, the secret began to leak, not through tabloids but through family whispers. Their student years were marked not by ballrooms, but by the ordinary rhythms of university life. William joined the water polo team, often swimming with Kate in the mornings. They shared dinners, flatmate quarrels, and even household chores. In 2003, they moved into a rented flat at 13A Hope Street, a two-story apartment with bulletproof windows and bomb-proof doors installed for the prince's security. Behind the high-tech defenses, though, the flat was simply a student home. One bathroom, a kitchen, laughter around the table, and William in the kitchen trying to impress Kate with spaghetti bolognese. Years later, Kate teased him in a BBC special with Mary Berry. "In university days, he used to cook all sorts of meals. I think that's when he was trying to impress me, things like bolognese sauce." And when asked if he still cooks, she smiled. "He sometimes does, actually. He's very good at breakfast." These details, charming and human, remind us that before they were the future king and queen, they were two students navigating young love in the safety of anonymity. But it was not all smooth. Conflicting reports swirl even today. Some say William once made a clumsy pass at Kate at the after-party of the fashion show, and she rebuffed him. Others insist they were already together months earlier. The ambiguity is part of the allure. The secrecy worked. When the press tried to stitch a timeline, they found only fragments. What mattered was that William had finally found a partner who balanced him. Sociable but grounded, confident yet private, loyal beyond measure. Kate, unlike so many who had been dazzled by Will's mania in earlier years, didn't chase the spotlight. When William visited Marlborough College for inter-school tournaments, teenage girls swarmed him. Kate, then a student, was more interested in her hockey stick than in the celebrity prince. That independence would later define her royal role. The dress that changed everything did not vanish into storage. Charlotte Todd, the designer, auctioned it in 2011, the year of the royal wedding, for $78,000. Not because it was a masterpiece of textile art, it had been stitched from scraps for $30, but because of what it symbolized. It was the fabric that caught a prince's gaze, the threads that tied an ordinary night to an extraordinary destiny. Netflix's The Crown later dramatized the scene, with actress Meg Bellamy struggling to capture Kate's student-era shyness and poise. With no archival footage to study, she walked around her home in costume, trying to feel Kate. The fact that such detail was necessary shows how carefully William and Kate had guarded their story. Their early romance remained a mystery, wrapped in whispers, until long after it was secure. 3 years at St. Andrews forged something unbreakable. From shared flats to holidays, from secret hand-holding to long pub nights, their relationship deepened. When William debated leaving university during a difficult period, Kate was said to have been his anchor, convincing him to stay. By the time they graduated, what began as a shy meeting in a hallway had become the most significant royal partnership of the century. Perhaps that is why their story captivates. Not because of crowns or carriages, but because, at its heart, it is a love story that might have belonged to any university campus. Late nights, private jokes, a boy trying to cook for a girl, and a friendship that became love. The only difference is that this boy was a future king, and this girl would one day wear a crown. And so, when we think of William and Kate's romance, we return inevitably to that sheer dress. Not because it was scandalous, not because it shocked a room, but because it marked a moment when private affection stepped into the light. A transparent fabric that revealed not just black underwear, but the transparent truth. The heir to the throne had found the woman who would walk beside him through every storm into history.